There's something about the word insecure that makes people feel really like ashamed. There's shame associated with feeling insecure, and nobody wants to feel insecure. Nobody wants to feel failure. No one wants to, there's certain feelings that are like really taboo, that I'm just like, wow, like I want to double click on that. Like I want to feel secure in my insecurity sometimes.
Welcome to the Stay Grounded podcast. I'm your host, Raj Jana, co-founder at Liberate, and it's my mission to help you become the most grounded, loving, and authentic version of yourself that you can be. Each week, I interview guests in the fields of mindset, spirituality, and emotional well-being. My brilliant guests share their tools, tips, and unique perspectives to help you develop the skills you need to show up for the people that matter most in your life. Now let's dive in. Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to this very special episode of Stay Grounded with my soul sister, Miki Agrawal. I had Miki on the show back in 2018, and we recently had a beautiful reconnection in many ways, and have become fast friends. And I was really excited to bring her back onto the show this time because Miki has been on quite the transformational journey. She's a successful serial entrepreneur who's founded multiple companies such as TUSHY and the latest Hiro Technologies, which is working on using fungi to actually eat up plastic around the world. It's a fascinating venture that she's gone into. We talk a lot about it on this episode, but more importantly on this episode, we dive into the inner work and the process of transformation and the process of going from doing to being and what it takes to really create the capacity to access soft power. Miki talks about on this episode the blend of soft power versus pushing forward leadership, where leadership is where we are punching forward, moving things along the way, go, versus soft power mastery, being able to push, but also slow down and wait and be in the stillness. And what does it take to get there? How do we have to transform our relationship to feeling and being and inspiration and connection and prayer in order to access this new paradigm of creation? Thank you for being a part of the show. Thank you for being a part of this journey. And without further ado, here is the most amazing Miki Agrawal. Enjoy. Yo, welcome back.
Sup. Love being here.
It's been a minute.
I know.
Since we've had you here, but we've been spending a lot of time together, which I just love.
Yeah, crashing my casita. It's been great. I thought it was an intruder. It was Raj. It was so chill. He saved me from a freaking scorpion.
That's benefits of living in the jungles of Costa Rica.
I know, you kind of desensitized. I was like, all right, that was kind of hot.
Oh my God, Miki, I just want to start by saying thank you for being you. I have just loved dropping in the ways that we have in the last few days, and even the little chance encounter at Burning Man.
Yeah.
And just the soul wave I feel with you, and it feels like there's so many similarities even in our journeys with love and evolution and heartbreak, and I fucking love you.
I love you too.
So,
and you're dating a twin with the lefty one.
I know. It's just the best. It's so great. Good. So you do a lot of things, but I'm going to talk about your music for a second because no
one talks about it.
I just discovered your album and the creative brilliance that it is. Do Less Be More is a jam that I feel like I'm going to be really when I like a song, I kind of just let it go on autopilot for 100 times.
Yeah.
So I think I'm just going to let that happen. And then at the end of the year, it's going to be what are your favorite songs? Mickey's going to be there.
Let's go.
And I wanted to ask you, because just that idea of doing less and being more, what does being more mean to you?
Well, so this album, it's called It All Exists, and it's about how love exists in many forms and how people, they're like, oh, you fall in love with someone and then you have a kid and you're like, oh, you can only fall in love with one person. It's so finite. I mean, I'm usually a one person human as well, but when you have two kids, you have more love to give. You have different kinds of love to give, and there's love exists in many forms. And so the album It All Exists is really about how it all exists in the realm of love. So it was brought on by coming out of my marriage of 12 years, and ending that, and kind of the melange of letting go and falling in love again, and what that experience was like in this phase of my life. And the song Do Less Be More was really around just the deep desire in partnership to not need to do. I think oftentimes in relationships, it's like, oh, you have the intimate moments and check that off, and then you go make food, and then you go to this, and you go hang with community and the friends, and you do the work. And there's a lot of doing, even in relationship, versus being, where it's just like, can we just be together and talk and connect and laugh and just vibrate and hang and breathe and gaze and hang and, and not do much? Like, can we walk in silence together without having to feel the need to talk? Although with friends, it's different. But in relationship, it's sort of like, can we just purr, and that's it's been my longing. Yeah. So,
I mean, it's beautiful when because to even get there, you almost have to be comfortable just being. Besides being in relationship, it's like just being. Like there have been relationships in the past where I would have such a hard time being in that state because I was so uncomfortable being by myself.
Yeah.
And that period of me being by myself, I remember I went into a 10-day Vipassana last December.
Good.
And it was the first time I'd ever been by myself truly for that long. And I realized just how hard it is to be and how we're so programmed in so many ways to even just do anything, whether it's even personal development work. It's like, do the work. It's like there's no space for the being. And
I was going to say, try the darkness. I did the cave. I went into the cave for 5 nights.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And into a pitch black, dark cave and underground. And, the first 3 days was solo. And then someone joined me after that for a couple of nights. But it was truly the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life, when it's pitch black, can't see anything. You don't know what time it is, what's day or night. It felt like 5 years in there. It was really, really challenging. And what I learned from that experience was you can't do or manage or get out of a thought loop of feeling and emotion. You have to just be with it. And you have to just be with it. That's it. And that is the work, is to learn to not manage it, try to override it, to think about something else, to try to do something, to when you're in the pitch black cave and there's nothing to look at. Because I was thinking about doing Vipassana too. I feel like that'd be kind of a little bit less intense because I can at least look around, but it was just real. 10 days feels like a long ass time too, but it was like I had a DMT release. So I was seeing clear as day photographic movies of babies laughing and light coming through trees and coming through the window. And it was just a potent remembering of
what did you learn about feeling in those moments? Because I think I've just noticed in the world, we have such an aversion to feeling. And I think a lot of the destruction that happens in the world is because we don't like to be with what is. And so then we go do or build or create or channel this energy in some direction. But I think what you're sharing is so important for the times we're in right now, just around learning to be. So what did you learn about being with feeling?
Yeah. So it was such a powerful experience because it was everything was in slow motion. And so because of that, when a thought or feeling appeared, it would slow motion hit my body and become a sensation. And then it would ricochet to my brain to create a pattern response, then a pattern reaction, then it would create a pattern response. So it was a bing, 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 bing. It was like an exploded view of what was happening. And it was just a realization that it's they're just so arbitrary. Feelings and thoughts, they just come and they go. They're like visitors window shopping, coming to your door and knocking and trying to get in. And it's you being do I want to let them in? Do I not want to let them in? Do I it's a decision that you get to make, but it happens so quickly that oftentimes we're in that reactive, first it hits a sensation, creates a sensation in the body, which then becomes a patterned reaction. It's just like we're computers that's programmed to react to feelings, thoughts, and sensations. And so what I've been doing is like, I've been working with a somatic therapist to really catch at the sensation before it becomes a patterned reaction. And obviously we're not perfect and we're under-resourced, and when we're about to get our periods, like me, like I'm gushing now. It's like day one, baby. You have, it's a constant remembering. And so for me, it's just, it's the catching it at the sensation that's the work for me. And it's to slow it all down enough to the point of catching it. It was interesting to download your app yesterday and to write down some triggers that appeared. And it's like, oh wow, there's clear patterns that happen, like the sensations in my body that create the patterned reaction is like, it's already clear, like just 2 trigger entries. And I'm already like, oh yeah, that's what that is. And so, it's all information. Ultimately, we're just computer programs with information that has to process. And like, what does our processor look like now? Can we upgrade the processor?
Totally.
Can we, right? And so, yeah.
I mean, I think the understanding of self and the inquiry of self and the awareness of self is one of the most powerful assets we can build as people.
Right.
Like, it's like the course on how to human.
Right.
Like I wish I took it when I was a kid and I learned how to human, and I learned how to understand that my thoughts are connected to my emotions, and that there's a little thing in the middle called a pattern that tendrils it all together. And once you see it, then it's easier to catch it, and then you just get better at better, and then the body becomes resilient.
Right. And then there's like so much shame around like catching yourself being in like a shame spiral or in like a whatever, and you're just like, whatever. It's almost like the little man at Wizard of Oz when you like get to Oz and it's this big scary thing and you pull back the curtains, like this little man, like you're just like, oh, that's it. It's like, for me, confronting those like darker emotions feels so scary and so daunting until you like face them and you're like, oh, that's it. I actually want to do more of it because it actually liberates me. It's so freeing. Yeah.
The liberating nature of letting yourself feel the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
In so many cases, in every case, whether it's like a death or a grief. Like, grief is like a really interesting emotion. I'm curious about your relationship to grief, because like I think grief is one of those emotions that we as a society just have so pushed away, and we haven't been taught how to handle grief. And so it just gets stored in the body. It manifests as sickness, or we get stored in the body and then it shows up as triggers, and then we don't know why we're triggered. And it's ultimately because we're not letting ourselves feel grief. Have you had a healthy relationship to grief in your life? Or is that something that because you have, like, I'm super curious about, especially in relation to like relationship transitions and like grieving and like, because there's a lot of beauty in transitions, and grief is a real thing, and your body's like, it's almost like whether the grief is about the thing at the surface or it's like so many more. Yeah. It's just so complex.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about like, the whole, like everyone talks about like, the deer that gets chased by the lion and then it gets away and it just shakes, and then it just like clears it out of its system by shaking, and then it's fine. It's like back to grazing, and it's like forgot what happened, So I think there is some level of like, how do you shake off the trauma or shake off the grief or shake off the trigger or shake off? For me, it's like, I like to talk things through, and I have a twin sister, and so because of that, I have outlets. I have 3 coaches. I have tons of beautiful community who are there to listen and share with each other and co-elevate and constantly process with. And so I feel like I think think it's like 40% of Americans don't have one person to confide in. It's like a pretty crazy stat. And so if you have an outlet to get some of the, and can you believe that when whatever this happened, there are safe outlets to be able to do that and just vent and get the thing out, and then be able to catch the sensation and catch the trauma and understand what it's hitting and what pain body it's matching up to. Like I just did 2-hour energy work yesterday with an energy healer, and it was like really, really potent to get like hooks out of my body of this last relationship, whatever, and so stuff like that, where it's like people are like, I don't want to invest in myself, it's too expensive. And it's like, well, do you want to be sick long term? or do you want to actually look inward and see what's there? And yeah, I did this. I went to the Amazon rainforest over New Year's with Lynn Twist from Pachamama Alliance and Sarah Better and my sister and a few Epic, Mark Hyman, Epic people. And when I was there, we sat in ayahuasca ceremony, my first time doing it in 6 years. And by the way, like 88 million acre sacred headwaters. We go all the way in Ecuador, the plane leaves, and it's like a little prop plane with 6 person. There's a few planes. We drops us off. There's no roads. There's no cars. None of these people have ever been to the modern world. We only have access because Lynn Twist is there and she's built inroads with them for 35 years. And because she's helping save the sacred headwaters of the Amazon rainforest. And so because of that, these Amazon people have let her in and has allowed her to bring in people who are being called forward to see that world. And so we had the privilege and honor to spend 12 days with the sacred Sapir tribe and the Ashwar tribe of the Amazon rainforest. And while we were there and doing and had the opportunity to take Aya, it was created by the grandmother of the tribe, served to us by the head of the Sapir tribe, Minari, one of the leaders. And what came up beyond, so there's a sentence that came up over and over and over again, which was, move slowly and you get to meet the moment. Move slowly and you get to meet the moment. Move slowly and you get to meet the moment. And it was just like an over and over and over and over again, just for hours and hours and hours and hours, just saying that to me. Because we moved quickly. It's like the doing versus being. And it's just been a consistent theme over the last few years of like transitioning into the word, which is my word of 2024, is soft power.
I was making the connection on that.
Yeah. And so to be able to enter this next phase of my life, out of my relationship, entering into new space, starting my new company that's really about truly entering in community with nature to help solve the global plastic crisis, harnessing mushrooms in the fungal kingdom, and how to really team up with them with true integrity. That requires soft power. The hard power will never work with them.
I was gonna bring that in because one of the things that I'm really noticing is a shift right now in just the field. When you said soft power the other night, it like really sat with me because there's such it's a different way of defining power. Because power as a word has so much loaded in it. It almost feels like destructive. It almost feels like big. And I'm finding the scariest thing I can do is actually the thing that's pretty soft. Like the scariest thing I can do is feel a thing I don't want to feel, or say a thing I don't want to say, or to lead and trust in divine orchestration.
Right.
And like to let go of timelines, like to change my relationship to uncertainty. Like these things are not like the go doing.
That's it.
Power. It's a softer, more sensitive, more like internal power of sitting.
Yeah. So it's the difference between leadership and mastery. Do you know the difference?
I'd love your take on it.
Yeah. So from my perspective, the difference between leaders and masters are leaders are on their horse, charging forward, giving 100%, just go energy. Whereas masters is a 60-40. They're charging 60%, but then they're creating this space for 40% to come to them. There's this like holding. It's like knowing when to hold, when to fold, when to walk away, when to run. It's like the holding, requires as much as doing, requires as much skill. And that's the holding. That spaciousness is the soft power. It's like, can you receive? Can you be? Can you stop? Can you calm? Can you rest? And obviously, like in our dynamic, it's like just it's fun, but as you get to know me, as we get to, there are multiple sides of all of us.
Totally.
And my coach always said, like, you never want to dampen the excitement energy. It's always like, that doesn't make you not a soft power human. It's just like, it's fun tomboy energy. It's like fun, it's the darker side when, for me, is that when I get triggered or when I get hurt or feel misunderstood or taken advantage of, or there's some injustice happening. Like these are all kind of, those are moments of trigger for me, like the game for me is to slow it down. Because the second I can just be like, just sit down or slow down, then I can catch myself and I can reattune. But it's really when I'm like, the blood rushes to my face too quickly and the Indian comes out, it's like fucking too late. but you know, like if I can catch it before that, the blood rushes to my face, then we're good.
Well, it's just I'm finding for myself, like it's an authenticity.
Right.
Right. Like there's times where I'm authentically excited.
Right.
And then that's just like a spiral.
Right.
It's beautiful.
It's fun. It's like,
expressive.
Yeah.
It's childlike. It has
Yeah.
all this awe and wonder, and
Yeah.
it's beautiful. But then at the same time, infinite souls on an endless timeline. And like when I think about that and the vastness of that, like there's no amount of speed that I can run at to catch that.
Yeah.
Like the only way to really connect to the infinity is to be in the slow.
Yeah.
And I'm finding like the slow and the patient and like even my like pacing, my tonality, like when I got out of my Vipassana, it was so powerful for me to even feel how slowly I was walking. Like the walk and it's a practice.
Because you can just get back to, you know, whatever. And you have a kid, you're running after your kid and it's like they want to be chased and they want to chase you. And it's childlike.
Do you feel like you can bring Hiro into the softness with you?
He does meditate with me.
Beautiful.
And we do prayer together.
Oh, that's really beautiful.
Every night I, spend an hour just like tickling his back until he falls asleep, and like that's its own meditation, its own slowness. And he gets to feel me just not moving, like just there with him.
You're co-regulating
fully,
with him.
and we just together and he just passes out and I just get to like just be with him and it's so beautiful. And then I get to just like sneak out and then it's just this beautiful patient experience and expression for me to be able to do that every day when I'm with him. And that's been such a game changer for me, where it's just like I can't do two things at once with him. It's one thing at a time. Otherwise he'll just be just mama, and I can't do anything. So, I have this goddess in residence. I've had this woman who stayed at my house for a month, and we've been doing these like cacao ceremonies and stuff. And one of the things that I've been saying like over and over again is like, I move at the perfect pace. And it's like and sometimes the perfect pace is, and sometimes the perfect pace is like stillness, so it just depends.
I think it's like almost letting go of the need to control the pace.
Right.
Right. Because like it's the need.
I'm just operating in the perfect, whatever it is. It's perfect.
The need to control
is the inauthentic part.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the part that's trying to manufacture, play God, do the thing,
right.
Put it in my hands, bring it into motion.
Right.
And we're all powerful creators, and there is, beauty in our ability to do that. And what I'm really noticing and loving about even that 60-40 split, I feel that like a lot for myself too. Like it's like a balance of like, how can I co-create with what is?
Mm-hmm.
And, you said the word prayer, because I think prayer is the sort of connecting line with the doing and the being. Like when you're connected to prayer and you're operating from that prayer, you can move fast or you can move slow. You're connected to prayer.
Yeah.
And that prayer is intelligent, and that prayer is feeding and harnessing information and intuition from so much more than I can personally understand.
And there's this like, it's a field, it's an energetic field that it's an expansive field. And, I never really understood prayer until I literally was in the Amazon with a friend of mine who was there, and he teaches people how to pray. And it's not like prayer around like necessarily to like a deity of any kind, but it's just like prayer to the universe, prayer to nature. Like you don't have to believe in denomination, although there's, beautiful expression of believe in energetic, like some kind of energy that exists is something beautiful to even imagine that it's possible. But to incorporate a level of prayer into the energy field, there's power in that, because it actually sets you in motion toward that thing. And there is a reciprocity of energy that does happen. That's pretty magical when you put prayers into the universe.
Spoken prayers too.
Spoken prayers.
Like it's like having there's like something incredible Because the thoughts are one thing,
Yeah.
right? Like, and you can think positive thoughts all
Yeah.
day, but there's something about speaking it. Like now in my meditation, I meditate for about an hour every morning.
You do.
Every morning I wake up, it's the first thing. I brush my teeth and I sit down and I just sit, and I have an insight timer where it's like a gong.
Yeah, I have the gong, the inside timer gong too.
And so then at the 45th minute, I hit the gong goes off. And then at that point, I just start to pray. And I say what is alive and true and what I want to call it out loud.
That's really powerful. Yeah, I'm working towards having a longer meditation.
It really, my Vipassana really set the stage. Like once I went there and I got to that point, like on day 9, I was like, oh my God, I just got here.
Yeah.
It took me 9 days to like work through all my shit.
Yeah.
Like my mind was such just a
bunch of jumbled up shit.
It was just like, it's like, it took me a while to just like clear.
Right.
And then finally I'm at this point where I'm like, oh my God, this is what that.
This is why it's 10 days.
It's the frequency of that. Like, and even like in my
attunement.
In my meditation, it's like when I pray, there's like a depth and like I can feel my voice just like God, thank you. It always starts with thank you. Always starts with thank. And in fact, like I would say gratitude is like the undercurrent. If living a life of prayer is living a life of thank you. And it's living a life of looking around and just being like, wow, like look at this.
Literally, we're talking to Ryan, the Cafe Gratitude guy. He picks up, he goes, Miki, what are you grateful for today? And I'm like, this moment right here, right now. And he was like, this is all there is. And I was like, this is all there is. And we're just like, just grateful for this moment together. We just spent like a couple of minutes just like joyfully expressing how grateful we are for this exact moment. So yeah, gratitude is everything.
It's like the frequency. Right?
Yeah.
And I'm now really, really, really connecting to even like gratitude's like the base layer, and then you can layer on like awe and wonder and all of those like bliss and all of those other states that I feel like are all a part of this 5D prayer field that is so possible when we learn how to feel.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, it's been a really fascinating journey, like the feeling journey. Like what I said to myself coming out of my marriage is, I want to feel what it feels like to be shattered open, like
damn.
That's like the next. And if that includes like shattering heartbreak or,
why did you, what inside you made you want to desire and yearn for that?
Yes. Like it was in a safe, beautiful relationship. And it's like, when you enter a new chapter, it's like, you just know that the page is turned and it's a new chapter. And it's like, like you can sense an adventure coming in that. And like, it just was it was a pure, deep, deep, deep soul knowing where it was like, okay, like it's time. And I actually had a Kundalini awakening, like, as I was in the process of coming out of my marriage and in that decision. And that was like, I was at orgasm for 2 weeks straight. It was one of the craziest experiences of my life. And I was in my bed by myself. Like I was just in pure full body ecstasy. And it was just, I think I was just holding a certain type of energetic, like sensual, sexual, some energetic in my body for a decade. And that it just poured out of me in a different way. And this is not wronging any relationship I was in. I was in the most beautiful, beautiful team partnership. It was incredible. Like any relationship, it double clicks on certain parts of your life, and then it might atrophy some parts of our life. It's just, that's what happens sometimes in relationship, and that's okay. And the part that was atrophied for me was a part that was like longing to be screaming out in the world, out and
to be liberated,
to be
fully, authentically in your soul expressed as the magnitude that you are.
Yeah.
And you were just teetering on and feeling the magnitude, but you hadn't allowed yourself to like feel
Yeah.
it. And that's what you were, so I think that's that edge of your full power.
Right. And it's like after it was just like it was just this like, I lost 8 pounds in those 2 weeks. Like, 'cause I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't drink, I couldn't work, I couldn't do. And my friend would fly in to like feed me sips of juice. Like it was wild. And I just was like, I'm not going back. I'm going forward. You know, this is where I'm destined to go, in this direction, to explore what's inside. You know, the fullness, the full, like to the tips of my, like to beyond, to the soul level, like it's infinite. And
so when we came up with the company title Liberate,
yeah,
it was Liberate.
Yeah.
And the entire premise was liberating the infinite self.
That's it.
Because beyond all the shackles, the fear, the programming, the attachments, there's a part of you that is so big, that is so powerful, that is so unlimited in resource.
And there's fear around that.
Of course, because if you were actually that powerful, what excuse do we have to not be creators in our life?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was a whole thing. I mean, I know I went through when in my awakening of like really integrating that power, I had so much fear and doubt and insecurity because I'm like, man, like if this is who I really am and I still fuck up or I still fall short, fuck, I just must be broken. There must be something wrong with me.
Yeah.
But the truth is that magnitude and that part of us is never dying. It's never wrong.
And it's an endless pool of infinite energy. Yeah. And I've touched it and I've tapped for that period of time, and I've in the darkness, like I've experienced pure potential energy, and I know what that feels like. I know like, you know, it's like you can root back into that. I mean, it takes, and so
it takes letting go.
It takes letting go. It takes the remembering over and over again. So, I mean, the full spectrum, baby. That's what it's all about. You know, my favorite quote is this quote, which is like, I want to skid to death's door sideways, not in a well-preserved body, thoroughly used up, loudly proclaiming, wow, what a life, you know? And it's like every taste, like when I went through like a crazy takedowny experience in a company. Like I've experienced like the heightens of love, like all the shattering. There's just like I've experienced a lot already in my life, and the feeling of betrayal. It's like, I got to taste betrayal. I got to taste the depths of like feeling misunderstood and like the yearning to be understood in the world. And like I've tasted like the unlimited ecstasy. Like, and it's sort of like that spectrum is the juice. Totally. You know what I mean? And it's like, and everything in between, the mundane, and it's like the middle moment, the in-between moments, like the eating berries, whatever, and just making some jokes. Like that's the, like it's all juice.
I was one of my favorite perspectives on this whole life we are inside of is that, our souls chose to be human. Like our souls are infinite and they're always tapped into that power. And inside of that power, all you feel is oneness, and all you feel is infinite, and all you feel is expansive, and you never feel the opposite. And
right.
So like, how cool is it that our souls are like, man, I want to go feel all those human things.
Right.
I want to go down to the human realm so I can feel jealous, so I can feel what it feels like to be anxious before I walk on a first date, or before I go on stage, or before I do this thing. I want to feel what it's like to be alive.
Right.
Because you can't actually feel alive without knowing the opposite. The fear of it.
Right.
The fear of that and the edge.
Right.
And what if our souls actually chose this experience fully?
Yeah.
And we just forgot.
I was pregnant and I was going through this like crazy experience at my last company. And feeling incredibly misunderstood and feeling incredibly betrayed, incredibly really sad and really angry. Like all the hard, dark, painful feelings were emerging while I was pregnant and hormonal. So it was triple amplified. And I had this like one of the most pivotal moments of my life was when I was laying in my bed, fully naked, like 7 months pregnant, crying in my pillow, just being like, what is happening right now? And I remember having this like Whoopi Goldberg from the movie Ghost out of body experience where like, instead of like someone entering my space, like I like left my body and became a being observing myself crying in my pillow. You know, you have that like detachment of yourself. You can see yourself from a bird's eye view. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but now like I can do that now where I can watch myself, you know, I can detach myself from me and I can see myself in real time. It's kind of a weird thing. But anyways, so as I was observing myself, it was one of the first times I saw myself crying in my pillow. And then I was like, oh my God, I get to feel betrayal. Like I get to feel anger. I get to feel sadness. I get to feel, and it was just like, and then I started crying in my pillow as I was observing myself. And it was this like psychotic, like laughter cry thing. But it was like, it was again, I was just like, this is the juice. Like this is part of the juice. It's not just it's like, it's the pain. And actually after that, since then, like over the last 8 years since that 7 years since that experience happened, I can now meet people at their pain and meet people at their betrayal. If they've been betrayed, I'm like, I know what that feels like viscerally. So I can cry with you authentically. It's not like, oh, get over it. Like, you're okay. Like, move on.
You can
it's
meet
like,
people.
I can meet people in depths that I was not able to meet people anymore before.
Right.
And like, what a gift.
Oh my God. It's the normalization of this paradigm
Right.
that all feeling is here
Right.
to be felt.
Right.
And it's so, I know it sounds crazy in today's day and age, but like the body wouldn't be creating these emotions and these feelings and these sensations if they weren't meant to be experienced. And when we can do that together,
Right.
it's the most powerful medicine. We are each other's medicine. We are the medicine. There is like this paradigm of medicinal living that just happens when we allow.
Exactly. And it was so interesting because I have this blog every month that's called Miki's Monthly Musings. You should sign up. It's pretty good.
Great.
Anyways, and so last month's musings, not the month before last, was around the feeling of insecurity and how that's such a tough feeling to feel for people. Like when I feel like insecure in relationship or insecure in a moment, it happens in moments. It's like they come and they go like any feeling. But it's such a feeling. You're like, well, no, it's not insecure. It's unsafe. I don't feel safe. There's something about the word insecure that makes people feel really like ashamed. There's shame associated with feeling insecure. And nobody wants to feel insecure. Nobody wants to feel failure. There's certain feelings that are like really taboo, you know, that I'm just like, wow, like I want to double click on that. Like I want to feel secure in my insecurity sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, so like, what does that look and feel like? And so, you know, as entrepreneurs, it's like you have to be secure all the time. Your employees have to see you like knowing and being certain, or at least being confident in your uncertainty, you know, or just being like, well, let's talk about it, let's discuss. Like that's also important too. But like there is this need to kind of just be like, investors, I've got this. We've got this. Like, don't worry. Like, this is why you're investing. Like, there has to be this level of queen that enters the field. But queens also feel insecure sometimes. That's okay. And how can that be expressed in a way that doesn't take away the feeling of like, oh God, I just made everyone feel unsafe around, insecure about me. Do you know what I mean? Right? Like there's this, so that's been a real interesting curiosity for me to like unpack.
I've been really sitting, this is interesting. We should probably jam on this. We could jam on this for hours, but like this one specifically around like letting your vulnerabilities be seen.
Right.
Like I'm sitting with like, is there power in sharing your insecurities and your vulnerabilities with investors and team? Or
100%.
is it actually better to like, what's more authentic? What's more real? Like, you know, like, because sometimes I am afraid, like sometimes I'm, you know, we're raising capital, we're doing all these things. Like I have a lot of people that depend on me. And sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm like, right?
Totally.
And so it's like, is it authentic because it's human?
Right.
Or is it the best thing for me to be like, speak to the part of them that wants to feel secure?
Right.
And so
Exactly.
I don't know if you have any thoughts on this, but I'm kind of figuring it out myself.
Right. So I created a framework called the soft power framework to really like allow myself to just like sit in what is that? Like this is my word for 2024. So I'm like, okay, let me actually unpack what this could look like. And so I created this framework and actually workshop with a few friends, and it was, and so it really starts with self, and then it kind of radiates into two-person, then in team, then community, and then in nature, and sort of is this radiating from the inside out. It's an attunement that starts with myself, attuning to myself, attuning to others, and attuning to the world. And what does it feel like to attune to my teams and attune to my community, where I'm still attuned to myself and true, but like allowing for the okayness of not being on a pedestal. So basically, one of the rings of the soft power framework is attuning in company. And so when you're in company, it's basically going from pedestal to path, which basically means like going from like being the leader on the pedestal where you're like everyone's looking to you for the answer, to like, hey, I'm on the path just like you. I'm on the path of growth just like you. I'm learning and growing just like you. I'm seeing 3 coaches just like you guys are probably seeing therapy. Everyone's doing the work. Like, I'm not perfect. I'm not claiming to be perfect. I don't have all the answers, but I am on the path of figuring it out, And so I think like by changing it from pedestal to path, that has been such a shift for me to be like, again, it's not like saying like, I'm insecure, I don't know. It's more like I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm on the path. And there's still this feeling of like, okay, like as leaders, we're doing the work. We're not saying we're perfect. We're not saying we have the answers, but we're still on the path of growth. And that still feels really good to me.
Yeah.
You know
It's
what I mean?
authentic
It's
and it's
authentic
powerful.
and it's powerful.
It's powerful.
It's
You're
still-
like, I'm owning my insecurities and I'm not letting it stop me.
Right.
I'm not letting it thwart the mission. I'm not letting
Exactly.
it get in the way of my own intrinsic desire to
That's it.
succeed.
Yeah.
And the authenticity of doing something that's never been done
That's
before.
right.
Because this is something I really connect with you on. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like we're both doing things that have just never been done.
Right.
So when we're carving a new path,
Right.
it's inherently gonna have doubt.
Totally.
Like
Of
it's
course,
like
yeah.
of course it does.
100%.
And our relationship to the doubt.
Yeah.
But the willingness to be seen
Yeah.
is something that I am still like, it's a dance. It's a dance that I'm learning to be comfortable with.
But what's interesting about that is that when I shared the post about insecurity, I was just like, at first I was like, oh, maybe I don't know, like maybe I shouldn't have shared it. You know what I mean? You kind of go through that. But then I received so much feedback. We've been like, thank you. As a leader, I feel this all the time too. Like, thank you for just naming the elephant in the room. Like, thank you for just saying it, because I feel it too. And so there's always the butterflies of like, should I reveal, And then it's like, wow, every time I reveal, the vulnerability is power. Vulnerability, yes, of course it is. And we all know that to be true. And yet the patriarchy is deep, baby, and the iron fist and like that whole thing is like crumbling for sure. And the new paradigm is literally here and now, but there's sometimes when we're under resourced, when we're stressed, when we regress, we go back to the old way of doing things that have worked for us. And I find myself at times being like catching myself and like versus like move slowly.
I'll also just add that I don't think there is regression. I've always felt like it's like we're spiraling upwards.
Yeah. I mean, it's just,
and we might come back around to the same pattern, but we're still
going up. Yeah, fair.
Like even if we regress, it's like we never come back.
Yeah,
It's
that's fair.
always
True,
in a spiral upward
True.
because our consciousness is constantly evolving, and there's just a brilliance to the times we're alive in.
Yeah.
and I just sense it. I sense this period. I love that you mentioned, like I really, really resonate with soft power, and I'm like, I feel it. It's time. And Miki, like you are like just such the best. Like I really fucking love you. Like it's like, because you're just such a beautiful mix of radiance and soft power and clarity and decisiveness and fun, and like the authenticity with which you lead is just so beautiful. and you're able to communicate with so many different kinds of people and really inspire them into more authenticity and creativity because you've given yourself the permission to be that. And I see it, and I so appreciate it, and I so look up to it, and I admire it, and I am like super fan of your being and how your being is doing and how both of that plays together. So I just want to take a moment to thank you for just existing as you are. And it is just such a privilege to get to know you and to know you in the ways that I get to. And I just feel really lucky. So thank you.
Feeling is very, very mutual. And just for those who are listening, Raj, when I first did his first podcast, was it 4 years?
5 years ago.
5 years ago. Like out of nowhere, I received this present, this gift of this like gorgeous like vase / cookie jar that was like hand carved with emblems of my life all around it in the most thoughtful, decorated way. And I was like, honestly, like I was just like, this is the most thoughtful gift. Like even like better than like 99.9% of my wedding presents. Like it was like, I was like, this is like extra. And I was like, there's nothing better for me than extra people. And with my dad's name, the healing that's happened, just, from the gift with that, I was like, okay. So just acknowledging the beauty of your thoughtfulness and how you brought such a big, giant smile to my face. And every time I see the vase, I'm like, this guy. I'm like, this guy. Like, who's this guy? And then I met you again at Burning Man this year, like 5 years later. And I was like, oh, like I really was like, we share the same backpack of energy. Like totally. It's the same. I was like, you remind me of like my best friends from home. Like you just feel like home, you have this very home vibe. And so I too am excited to like deepen our connection.
So good.
Yeah,
Miki.
you rock.
Well,
you rock hard.
Is there anything you want to share with the audience about the work you're doing, or anything that's relevant for you right now, or anything that's like just super alive?
Well, yeah. I mean, my new company, Hiro Technologies, named after my son Hiro, is launching in December, which is really, really exciting. We actually just launched our Insta, which is at Hiro Technologies, HIRO, which is very exciting. And it's really ultimately here to solve the global plastic crisis. And we have looked at nature, the billion-year-old technology of nature, and the technology of fungi that actually have figured out how to break down hardwood trees, and the fact that the same backbone of hardwood trees, the carbon backbone, is very similar to the carbon backbone of plastics. And so we have looked at, we've cataloged over 1 million strains of fungi, the fungal kingdom, and whittle it down to the top 30, and then a blend of plastic-eating fungi that can really break down the plastic and help solve the global plastic crisis.
Wow.
Yeah, and our very first product is a baby diaper. So when the baby poops into the diaper, the baby poop fertilizes these dormant plastic-eating mushrooms to grow and eat the diaper, fertilized by the baby poop. So the mom has like, my baby's poop, It's like helping solve the global plastic crisis. And then when they get thrown in landfills, they start eating plastics in landfills too, which is really, really cool. That's our ultimate goal, to really like spread baby poop, mother's breast milk, and these plastic-eating fungi to really retoil the soil and turn all the plastic back into nature.
I just love that it's called Hiro Technologies. It's
Yeah.
really sweet to have your son just kind of integrated into the magic, and I
he's
just
the
think
best.
it's so good. Mickey,
Yeah.
I got one last question for you.
Yeah.
In the midst of everything you're doing, everywhere you've been, and everywhere you're going.
Oh, and sorry, also TUSHY. Check out Hello TUSHY.
Oh
which
yeah,
is my-
TUSHY is the best. If you want a laugh, go to the TUSHY Instagram.
Hello TUSHY. Don't go to tushy.com. It's a very graphic anal porn site. It's bad for our investors, but it's great for us because it gives a laugh. But Hello TUSHY, and it's a bidet that washes your butt clean after you poop. It will change your life. We've sold millions of them, and people absolutely love them. And you need to get one. Save trees, save your butt. You're welcome. Okay, go ahead. Okay. Infomercial over. Carry on. What were you going to say?
How do you stay grounded in the world of so much happening? But more importantly, what's one thing you've done every day to become a more grounded human being?
I mean, it's just staying connected to the people I love. And I mean, that's ultimately it, is just connecting the people I love, whether it's my son, my family, my friends, my family, my teams, and doing things that really matter to me and creating things that matter to me. And then being in the space of love that matters to me the most. Right now. Yeah. And you?
How do I stay grounded?
Yeah.
Or what's one thing? Prayer is coming through.
That's good too.
Staying connected to just the frequency of prayer and remembering the privilege it is to be alive.
Yeah.
And like just really staying in remembrance of that and making it a priority to remember.
Yeah.
Because it's in a world that wants you to forget. It's a gift to remember. And every time I come back to remembering, I just feel so
good.
It's powerful, connected, grounded. It's a gift.
Yeah. Prayers. Yeah. It's been serving me too so well. Holy shit, we're alive.
Holy shit, we're alive. You're the best.
You're the best.
You're the best.
You're the best.
Thank you guys for tuning into this episode of Stay Grounded. Alex, you're the best.
Alex is the best.
I'm your host, Raj. This is your old friend, Miki. And from us, stay grounded. Thanks for tuning into this week's episode of Stay Grounded. No matter where you're from or what you're going through, I hope it helps you remember just how incredible you are and have always been. If you're on a path of emotional healing or self-discovery and would like to learn how Liberate can support your journey, head to www.rajjana.com/liberate. That is LIBER8 to learn more about our current group programs and one-on-one offerings. I love you guys, and I'll see you next week.